brothers and sisters. This is Dr. William Schnoebelen coming to you from One Accord Ministries with another teaching that is more or less a prayer alert. We are coming up again on the Summer Solstice, what is called in witchcraft Midsummer's Eve. And I just wanted to, we already have a teaching on this. We're going to link down below. But additionally, some new things have come up we want to warn you about so you can pray against it. And plus we have some other exciting news to share with you. So, in any event, this is one of the 8 major holidays of the Wiccan/satanic/pagan calendar. And basically the idea behind it is the year that they have these feasts in the way it's like the cycle of the seasons. And this is, of course, if you're in the northern hemisphere, the longest day of the year. It's the day when this year it's between June 21st, June 22nd, somewhere in there. And it's the longest day of the year, as I said, and it's when the sun is at its peak in the northern hemisphere. And because of this, to pagans, sun worshipers, people like that, it's a time of, celebration at its most innocent. The Wiccan type witches that are white magicians, white witches, they just party and whatnot. But what I'm more concerned about, I want you people to understand, is the black magicians are really gearing up. And especially there's a rise up in a new variety of this. Well, it's not really new, but it's just getting more and more popular. I'll talk about that in a moment. But first, let me explain. If you were a Satanist, on this night, you're required to have orgies and to go out and to, find as many young people to corrupt, to seduce, if possible, in the case of young women, to deflower them, because this all raises sexual energy for the false Elohim of witchcraft and paganism. Because, see, they believe that on this night, every year, the sun god, by whatever name, Baal, Moloch, Lucifer, many, many different names, that he impregnates Mother Earth. And she has a new seed within herself that then grows within her, just like an earthly mother, and that, then that is born on, Yule. So they have this cycle, and this is the beginning of this part of the cycle. So it's time when they celebrate, the male thing, things like that. And but from the standpoint of Satanism, they also believe it is a time to really increase their sexual power, because, see, in Satanism especially, and in the Crowley type, which is kind of a offshoot of regular Satanism, there's this strong belief in the idea in sex magic and in using sexual rituals of all kinds of, both normal and also perverse things to raise power, to raise occult power, to raise magical power, to do magic with. And I used to be involved in most of this stuff, not the sacrifices, thank goodness, but, most of these other things. I did these sort of rituals many, many decades ago in the 70s. So I know the kind of power that's involved here. And it's dangerous because it is intended to spill out into your communities, to spill out into especially your young people who, if you're a Christian parent or whatever, Messianic or Nazarene individual parent who is trying to keep their young people set apart and safe from the blandishments of the world system, they're going to try and target those people with this energy. So just be aware. Okay, now let me talk about the other thing that's emerging. With the rise of the so-called alt-right in the political scene, which is kind of bizarre. I'm not going to get into that. It's not really germane, but there's a further thing that has been an increasing interest by both not regular, but let's just say people that aren't into the occult, but also people that are into the occult. There's a growing interest, unfortunately, in neo-Nazism and in Nazi magic. And as many of you may know, You know, the stuff like you see in some of the movies you may have seen, like Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever. It is absolutely true that Hitler and his minions were deeply involved in the occult. They were deeply involved in black magic, and they believed that by doing black magic they could overthrow Judeo-Christianity and bring in the age of the new Elohim, the new false gods, which were actually the old ones. And so what has happened is, in the last few years, you know, and I think especially because this is kind of bubbling to the surface more because of what's been happening with Israel, the fact that, you know, there's this deep, profound hatred among these people for the Jewish people and for Israel, for the nation of Israel. And so we see here that, especially with things like, you know, recently President Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, which was supposed to be for many, many years. And, you know, he's been increasingly pro-Israel, whereas the last President Obama was very obviously not in friend of Israel. So anyhow, with all of this stuff happening on a geopolitical scene, this has caused more anger and more frustration on the part of these anti-Semitic neo-Nazi types. And many of them are turning to the occult. They're turning to black magic to do this kind of thing. And this has become part of what I used to know when I was into all this awful stuff as the cult of the Black Sun and the Schwarze Sonne. And it's very, very dangerous stuff. And these people, this is their big night. Just like most pagans, they see this as a time of the triumph of the solar phallic energies of the universe, because again, the sun is at its peak. And so they're going to try and channel this energy to destroy Israel, to destroy the Jewish people, and to destroy anything that smacks of what generally would be called Judeo-Christian morality. So this is their goal. And the problem with all this is so the last few years especially, they've been conjuring up the spirit of Amalek. Now, you might say, well, okay, that name is vaguely familiar to me in the Bible, but what is the spirit of Amalek? Well, actually, the Amalek has been one of the two names, if you will, has been associated, their houses, so to speak, with their eternal enmity with Israel. The other one being Edom or Esau, but Amalek is even more prominent. And continually, even in the Torah, even in the days of Moshe, Amalek was continually fighting against Israel, even when we were wandering through the wilderness, before we came to the Promised Land. And so, like, for example, this is one of the few times that the Almighty actually said this about a people. And reading from Exodus chapter 17, in verse 14, we see that he says this to Moshe. He says, "Write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven." Now, he told Moshe to destroy the Amaleks, and he failed. Joshua also tried to destroy the Amalekites, and he was not completely successful either, even though he was a mighty man of valor. And later on, David and Saul both tried to wipe out the Amalekites, and again, Saul especially blew it big time. And so this cursed race, if you will, has come down through the centuries. And, you know, I don't want to get into a whole thing about this, a mini teaching on it, but suffice it to say that the spiritual power behind this is the angel that is the fallen angel, of course, that is the premier enemy of the nation of Israel. And, you know, not going to get into at this point. Just come against the spirit of Amalek, and you'll be doing the right thing. And to understand here that this is a cosmic battle. This is not just a physical battle between Israel and the people who would destroy her, between the Jewish people and the Church of Moshiach that are trying to promote values out of the Bible and, you know, righteousness and living a set-apart life. It's a cosmic battle of unimaginable proportions, and we have kind of sensed in our spirits, my wife Mary and I, that this summer is going to be critical. We don't know exactly why or how. We just know that there has definitely been an uptick in this neo-Nazi black magic junk, and you know, it's all over the internet, and it's terrible. And you blend that together with the Crowley Thalamic type people. Then there's also the regular Satanists. I hate to say that, but the regular hardcore Satanists that are out there having orgies and trying to send out energy to seduce your young people. So this is critically important stuff for you to understand. So how do we proceed? Well, I would suggest you look at the earlier video we did a year ago on the broader topic of this time of year. But beyond that, of course, pray for the protection of your children, especially if you have children that are either prepubescent or in their teens. You know, pray that they would be protected. Keep an eye on them during this season, and especially during these couple of nights here, and pray that that Yahushua would protect them, and that he would keep them safe, and just plead the blood of Yahushua all around them. Ask for mighty Malachim, mighty angels to be around them. And also, if you feel so led, pray for the young people in your community that have nobody else to pray for them, because there are probably many thousands of such children, depending on the size of your city, of course. Now, the other thing to do is to pray against lust and bloodlust in your community at large, because these spirits are being unleashed by the Satanists and by the neo-Nazis during this time, during this season. Pray against Baal and Baal. Baal is a more modern Northern European form of Baal. They're both sun gods. They're both, solar phallic deities, and especially Baal, as we've discussed in earlier videos, are among the most ancient spiritual enemies of Israel and of the Torah, and of course, the Almighty himself. So, additionally, we suggest with this rising up of neo-Nazi type magic to come against the spirit of Donner, also known as Thor, the spirit of Loki, and especially the spirit of Amalek. Come against these. The first two are, of course, ancient Norse Elohim, false Elohim. And then, of course, Amalek is the name, the strong man that is behind this ancient enmity between the people of Yahweh Israel and the people of Amalek, and of course, his ancestors. So that's what I would suggest doing. Now, beyond that, let me say this. It is important that you also, if you feel so led, we are coming out with a new Liberator, which right now is up on our website, and it is powerful. It is probably the most jam-packed, powerful. This is, of course, a digital copy, a PDF file that you can read online or download, print it out, whatever you want to do. But this is an incredible teaching. It's called The Gates of Baal. And the newsletter in its online form is 17 pages, believe it or not. So it's got an incredible wealth of information, and what it deals with is about the whole thing of summer, the solstice, and the particular perils that are out there for you and your family during this season. And obviously I can't cover the whole thing, but just to mention a few highlights, the whole idea of, okay, we go on vacation, our young people are free from school. They're usually not, unless they have a job that they get for the summer. They have more time on their hands, and what do they do with that time? In terms of either vacations, Bible camps, or just regular sports, that's all okay up to a point. But every one of those things has some things you need to be aware of, some things you need to pray about. And parents especially, we discussed this whole thing in some of the recent videos we've done about needing the spirit of discernment, to cultivate the spirit of discernment in your life so you can have your antennae up to know what's going on with your family, with your children, because believe me, the devil is after your children and your both parents as well. It's a time of great spiritual warfare, especially this summer. And this newsletter discusses, everything from, like, okay, in the summer we have all these blockbuster movies coming out, and a lot of them are either occultic or they're violent or they're horror films, and, you want to keep your young people and yourselves away from them. The whole idea of like where to go on vacation and the perils behind, Disneyland, Disney World, a lot of these theme parks, why these are things that you probably want to stay away from if you want to protect your family. And many other things like that. And we delve pretty deeply into the whole danger behind these incredibly immersive video games that are out there right now. And when your young people have more time on their hands because school is out, how do they spend that time? Are they spending it, spending 5 or 6 hours a day sitting in front of a game console going boop, 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 like this, and, totally immersed in these games, and why that's dangerous? Hopefully many of you already understand these things, but please, if you aren't on our mailing list, we would urge you to go to our website at withoneaccord.org and get on our mailing list. That way, when we come out with these teachings and these videos and these newsletters, you'll know about it immediately, and you'll get a downloadable copy of it right then and there. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that we also are releasing in about 3 or 4 weeks from now a new DVD that is called Unholy Covenants. And let me talk about this because it's in a slightly different venue here. Most of you know that I used to be a Freemason. I was deeply involved in the Freemasonic order for 9 years before I got saved in 1984. And so down through the years, I produced quite a few videos and other similar articles and things, and even my book, Masonry Beyond the Light, that discuss why Masonry is not for the Christian. Now, a lot of people may know someone, maybe they're in your church, maybe they're in your family or your neighborhood that are involved in Freemasonry. How do you approach this individual? Usually a man, but of course there are women auxiliaries as well, and there are also even things for teenagers. Like the Eastern Star is the woman's thing for the Masons, and then there's Rainbow Girls, Job's Daughters, and the Order of Desmoulins for young men. And you need to know how to discuss this with these people, because it's dangerous. It's spiritually dangerous for them. They need to get out of this stuff, especially if they're a Christian. So this video, Unholy Covenants, provides, first of all, my testimony, why I came out of the Masons, but beyond that, it also offers a lot of different things you can bring up with a Mason to help them understand, okay, this is why if you claim to profess Christ, to follow him, and to believe the Bible is the sole and final authority for your life and conduct, which hopefully if you're a believer you do, then you should not be involved in the Masonic Lodge or its auxiliary bodies. And these questions are going to be powerful and helpful, because let me say something. Sometimes, especially with the internet going on, and there's all this material out there now, anybody can find it about the really dark, evil side of Masonry, like the whole thing about Jacques Desmoulins, the whole thing about Baphomet. I'm not going to get into all of that. What I want to explain is you don't want to bring this kind of stuff up with your next door neighbor who's just an average guy, going to an evangelical or Baptist or whatever church. He doesn't know any of this stuff about the lodge. And if you come over there and start talking about, the Illuminati and Baphomet and devil worship and linking into Masonry, he's just going to think you're an absolute nut, even though that's all true. But you don't start there. And this video will show you how you can bring up things that are demonstrably anti-biblical without unloading the whole dump truck on the guy and freaking him out. Because, sometimes there's such a thing as too much information. And we believe this DVD will be an enormous help for people that want to know, how do I talk to my Masonic relatives? How do I talk to my Masonic friends, or maybe even people in your church? Maybe even your pastor's a Mason. God forbid, but believe me, there's a lot of pastors out there involved in Masonry. So This DVD, Unholy Covenants, will be available, where it's pre-order now. You can get on our website right now and order it at a special introductory price. But beyond that, July 15th, it'll be released, and then the price will go up a little bit, but we try to keep all of our material really reasonable. So we just invite you to go to our website. I mean, I know some of you, maybe this is the first time you've ever seen one of our videos. I want to explain something, because we get many, many emails and requests on our website and phone calls from people that say, oh, you know, I've got all this stuff going on. You know, Satanists are after me, witches are cursing me, my kids are in trouble, all these different things. And, you know, that's why we put together all the materials we have on our website. We have literally dozens of prayers that you can download for free for spiritual warfare, how to pray for your children, how to pray, for example, during these dark seasons that we're discussing right now. You know, all these different things. And we have, of course, you know, YouTube videos about a lot of these same things. And we've gone through the whole cycle of the witch year and discussed these different feats. And of course, all of that's free. And we want to make these things available. We have many, many dozens of teachings on everything from the Eastern Star to the Masons to the Mormons to the Jehovah's Witnesses to all these different, you know, different false religious systems that are trying to pull people in. They're all there for free. And additionally, of course, we have all of my books are for sale and many, many DVDs. I've lost track of how many DVDs we have out now, but they're all powerful. We want to really invite you to come and look at our website, withoneaccord.org, because these things are really, really powerful. And understand, this is a more dangerous summer, we believe, than usual. We don't know why, but we know that the RUACH, the set-apart spirit, is not going to be giving us these kind of warnings if it weren't serious. I don't know what the peril is, if it's spiritual, if it's, you know, some kind of physical attack, but we need to pray, and especially we need to pray against the things I mentioned earlier, you know, Baal, against the spirits of Satanism and witchcraft, against the spirit of Donner, the spirit of Loki, the spirit of Amalek. And, you know, of course, there's another witch holiday coming up on August 1st. We'll talk more about that when that comes. But right now, this is where we need to concentrate our fire. And, of course, pray for the protection of your children, for your church to be protected, and for your community at large. And by all means, pray for us, because we are under heavy-duty spiritual bombardment like never before, because we are making a difference. We are seeing almost every day people coming out of the occult, people coming out of witchcraft, getting saved. Hallelujah. And also, please, pray about being a regular supporter of our ministry. Please share this video. Please subscribe if you've not already done so. And of course, if you want to be sure you get notified of new videos, hit the bell to get notifications whenever we come out with a video, because we try to come out with one of these every week. And just please become part of the army of Yahweh, the praying army of Yahushua HaMashiach, and an anointed warrior of the RUACH, the set-apart spirit. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to equip the saints, the set-apart ones, to be true warriors against the forces of darkness and for our King of Kings, Yahushua HaMashiach, who is Yah come in the flesh. Okay, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate your prayers and your support. We pray you have a safe summer and that your children do as well. And we just, again, please pray for us. Thank you again. May you be richly blessed. Shalom, shalom.